All right, it is 6 o'clock, Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. Charlton Board of Health meeting. First order of business. First of all, I guess I should say that I am sitting in for Matt, who's our chairman, because he's had some dental work tonight, and he's not in the best shape to be talking for an hour or whatever. So,
thank you.
I'll be you're welcome. Also, Catherine may call in. She had an urgent work requirement, so if she calls in, we'll have her on the phone. If not, we've got two people, so we're good. In attendance, we also have Gary Magnuson from CMG, and we have Deb Marquis from Keep Charlton Beautiful Committee that is on our agenda, and of course our Board of Health agent Jim Phillip. First order of business is the acceptance of the prior meeting minutes from August 1st. I don't know if you've had a chance to read them, Matt, but
I'd like to make a motion that we accept minutes from August 1, 2023.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, thank you. Next up, Deb is here for Keep Charlton Beautiful Committee updates. Go ahead, Deb, take it away.
Every year around this time, people on my committee come and visit you and just let you know what we've been doing for the year. So the fiscal year 22-23, I guess our main focus was on the recycling dividends program. Run by the DEP, we get credit for every recycling effort that our town makes. And the first year that we did it was last year, and we only got about $735. But we worked really hard on it this year. Kara at the Selectman's office, Paul Gagnon at Casella's helped us a lot to get points. So we got $3,500 this year.
Wow.
So,
Very
and
good.
I do have to say, one part of that was because of the Saturday drop-off. That category on the points list gave us a good chunk of what we got. So we would be hard-pressed to do as well next year without the Saturday drop-off, because it's such a great venue for people in Charlton to get rid of recycled things and know that Casella's will recycle them and help them with their trash burden. So that was a big thing for us. We will get the money in November, I believe it is. So
I have a question. How do they differentiate? Are you talking about the Oxford transfer station?
yes, that's.
So how do they differentiate? Because when I go there, and I do go occasionally, even though I have trash service, I mean, I'm sure there's Oxford residents that are there when I pull in. So
I
how do
was
they
told
know?
they look at your license. I have
Really?
only gone once, but I was told they look at your license, but they seem to know. I've talked to them there, a couple people there, and they seem to know that it's around 200 or 250 people on a Saturday.
They've only asked me for a license once, I think, and I've probably been there a dozen times or so.
Yeah, I just don't know if they recognize people, or I did think they asked my husband for his license on the time that we went.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's good. I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Can I just ask a question too? So you had mentioned the gentleman from Casella. You said the name?
Paul Gagnon?
Paul Gagnon. So I just want to clarify, because my father is Paul Gagner, N-E-R,
Yep.
not affiliated with Casella, neither am I. So I just wanted to clarify that because
Yeah.
it sounds very similar, but
Oh, okay.
I don't even think the last name's spelt the same.
No, because he's at the Casella place in Auburn.
Okay.
And I went there, and he's been very helpful. I've called him a few times because it's hard for us to start that program and understand what we have to do, and he's been great. He and Kara, and I should mention Irene Degnan, our state DEP liaison in this area. She was extremely helpful in helping us understand the RDP program. So anyway, so we're going to continue with it, but the Saturday drop-off is crucial to us to keep doing well, so we're hoping it continues. Some other things we did, we have a social presence this year online. One of our younger members, Marissa DeJesus, she got us on Instagram and Facebook, and we had already been on Keep Mass Beautiful and the Town of Charlton website. So we do have more venues now to kind of get our message out to people. Plus, we also we have a table at Earth Fest in April. We have a table at the Blueberry Festival in July. We have a table at Old Home Day. And we sell our products that are on display at the town hall here, and meet people, give out coloring books on recycling, and raffle something. This year we raffled an outdoor composter, and the one that you've seen in the hall. And the winner just picked it up today. And last thing to talk about really is just Household Hazardous Waste Day. You know that you've been wonderful with the voucher system. We understand that will continue in 23, 24. And this September 30th I thought was supposed to be the last one with our contract with Casella, your contract. And so we need to understand if that is the last one. I'll be sending around town the papers letting people know about it. But I was hoping maybe I could get some information tonight about any plans that the Board of Health has or the selectmen to go forward with household hazardous waste or the Saturday drop-off.
Go
So
ahead.
you can always go to Oxford, we just have to pay. It's not gonna be free because we don't have a contract with them like we had in the past, so that'll be, if you still choose to go to Oxford, you're just gonna have to pay. Like, people bring stuff they pay anyway, like white appliances, stuff like that.
Right.
But there's no way we're gonna enter into a contract. As far as the Household Hazardous Waste Day, they're still looking into whether that would continue and you just have to pay for it. Now, we do give the vouchers anyway, so that's something that all towns would do. But Andrew is negotiating the contract for that side with the selectmen, so I'm not sure what he did on that. So I'll speak with him.
Well, the Saturday drop-off, though, as you know, has been free. And what you're suggesting, that people just go there and pay.
Well, I'm talking about
it's-
for items that you can't get rid of, that's still gonna
Right.
be an option, like a mattress. Normally you could get it, they've changed the law and it's gonna cost you $50 now to drop off a mattress.
But I was
So-
thinking of why couldn't the trash part of it continue as a pay-as-you-throw, which I do believe the state is willing to help us on a program like that, so that people, like these 250 residents that use it every Saturday, so that they can continue to use it for their trash, yet pay as they throw. So I did think maybe that was something that was going to be looked at least.
It is, it's being looked at.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna pay a store, then just hire someone. What's the difference in put it on your
Well,
curbside than
well-
driving on a Saturday all
Well,
day?
because a lot of these people that use it, I believe, are older people. And they don't have a lot of trash. I mean, my husband and I are retired now. We do use a service that comes to the house, but there's a lot of people that depend on being able to throw a couple of bags a week in, and that's all they don't need to hire a company to come to their house. They're willing to do this, and it seems like it could be done fairly cheaply. Household hazardous waste
It's
is another
not cheap.
story. Right. Well, you would know.
So, and I understand what you're saying, and so the vouchers, right? We're able to, at this point, give $35 per household or to a resident. So if you did a pay-as-you-throw, like, I think right now, do they just take the $35 on that household hazardous waste day and say, okay, you spent it all and that's it? Or like if you did a pay-as-you-throw and you only have 2 bags and they charge you $1 a bag or $2 a bag, those vouchers might last a decent amount of time if you didn't get the whole thing wiped out. If you had a voucher for $35 and you get 2 bags.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
30?
Yeah.
Okay, so, sorry, $30. But if you had the voucher for the 30 and you put that voucher towards the pay-as-you-throw, like you're saying, that would be one way to offset. But I don't know how the program works, that's what I was wondering.
Well, hazardous waste day and the Saturday drop-off are very different, because household hazardous waste to get you in the gate, you have to pay the $30.
Okay.
You know, so that just gets you through the door. Then they allow you to, they'll take your electronics for, I think it's $20 each. They'll let you bring paints as long as they're not water latex paints, batteries, things like that. But the drop-off, it just seems to me, a voucher system could work there. The town can help these residents, but it wouldn't be the same type of voucher, and I don't have any knowledge of how it would go, but Irene Cogman does. And she is the one for Andrew or anyone to speak with and see what they are offering and what they can do for these people.
So I'm unaware of how that $30 voucher worked, because I've attended the Household Waste Day. I volunteered there years ago, but I didn't think the $30 was an admission ticket to get in.
Terry Markham has given us that very strong, Tracy has told us very strongly that you can't tell people that, you know, this gets them half a car of trash or junk, she said. It's just getting a Charlton resident in the gate, because really it's free for Southbridge. But it's only free for Charlton if they have this voucher. So she's made it very clear to me that how I say it is correctly, that it gets you in the gate. It allows you admission to the hazardous waste day.
Did that change?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That's your understanding?
It's been a couple of years since I've been.
But
Yeah.
as far as the trash thing, I mean, there are select people that do use that. I mean, but other people have to pay for it, so you have to look in fairness. They're paying the same amount of taxes. Now, why should someone get the benefit to go there and the town pay for it, but other people have to pay for their own? So you see,
Well,
you know?
because they only are allowed 2 bags. They
Yeah.
have to drive there every Saturday morning, and if they miss that window, they're out of luck. We all who have it at our house have the convenience of just putting it in our cans out there, the big loader things. So it's not an easy thing to use the Saturday drop-off. You've got to be committed to knowing that you've got a small number of bags and that you're willing to go there. And also do the nice thing of recycling. Look at all the trash trucks that go around that they don't even do recycling. They just pick up trash. People that go to the Saturday drop-off, they're recycling a bunch of things too, so they're helping.
No, like in my house, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sure.
I have recycling, which is every other week, and I have trash. I have very little trash. I have more recycling than I have, but it's something you have to pay for now, even if you're a Southbridge resident or a Charlton. But everyone, and we have the list of every single household and who their hauler is, and how they're picked up. And most people are doing recycling also, because you must offer it anyway. But some people choose not to. Some people don't have anyone pick up things. Some people have dumpsters that are overflowing. All the apartment buildings, which are more than 3 units, have to have a dumpster anyway. So they've been paying themselves anyway. But whatever he's negotiated, that's between the selectmen. But I don't think they can negotiate for just a few people. You have to negotiate for the whole town as a whole.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only way I see that working is if those vouchers were, you could use it on household hazardous trash day. So, in other words, all the residents have the option to get that voucher. That keeps it fair through the whole town. But if you only want to do $2 a week on it for 15 weeks, that's how you spent your $30. It's still fair, as opposed to the person that went to Household Waste Day and used their $30 on that one event.
If that's only twice a year, where trash is weekly.
Right. No, I get it.
So.
I get it. I'm just saying it's the only way it would be fair to keep the dollar value the same for every person in the town.
Yeah, and everyone, I mean, the vouchers go, and some years we didn't even get rid of all the vouchers, so we had to carry that money over, so
Right.
not everyone's, but I think in any way, shape, or form, we'll have to have a household hazardous waste day. You can't have all these municipalities that are no longer affiliated with Casella not having ability to get rid of hazards. And you can always drive to Sutton, to NEDT, and they take in household hazards.
Very expensive.
It's expensive, but
Very.
there are other options.
Tracy has let me know that once this deal with Charlton is over, as of this year, for hazardous waste, that the next, if there was ever another deal, it would be very expensive.
It would
It's
be.
just gone
It
up
is
so much.
quite.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Sure.
Yeah, and if I may, John.
Yes.
Just, so, the program right now, on the Saturday drop-off, that's free for residents, and they're allowed, was it 2 bags or a certain number of
It's
bags?
supposed to be 2.
Supposed to be
I think
2.
some people bring.
Yeah.
But, and you hate to take away from the residents, and when that program is over, in essence, we're taking away something from them. But that's really not how that whole thing originated. It was given to the town through negotiations
Yes.
back in the day, so it was kind of like, it was good while it lasted, but that program is now over. And unfortunately, we may hear about it, Casella may hear about it, and there's going to be upset residents because it's, it's change, and that's the problem that we all have to get through. But it was a negotiation, and it was a benefit to the town residents for a long time. So
Right.
So trash service, just some rough math for me, for weekly trash service and every other week recycle equates to about $13 a week. I drive through some of these surrounding towns, you see these bright blue bags out there, and I don't know what they charge. This is East Brookfield, I think, is where I see a lot of them. And it's $3 or $4 that you have to buy a special heavy-duty
Like
bag
Worcester,
that the
does
crows
Worcester
can't
still
get it.
do that?
Yeah, I guess. And
Yellow.
so it's whatever, $3 or $4 a bag. So this would be a benefit for, like you were saying, retired folks who are only doing a small amount of trash. I mean, it's crazy when you think about if they're only doing one, like, bag of trash that's this big and just a small amount of recycling for $13. It's what? You
And we
know?
do a lot for elderly in Charlton. I just thought this was a good thing to continue, especially if it involves the Irene Cogden, the DEP, in this pay-as-you-throw thing, because they have some very definitive ideas on how to implement something like that. I don't have it at my fingertips, but I'm sure if you would please see Irene sometime, or have her come in and see Andrew and you, I really think she can present a very good case for continuing a program. It won't be the same program, but a program that will help with that.
Go ahead.
it's too bad. It's too bad, and it's dollars and cents, right? But it's too bad Casella, or whoever the transfer station is now that we're using, that's why I'm saying Casella, hey, this program's ending, but this is what we're gonna do. You can buy our Casella bag for $3, $4, $5, and so for those people that have limited trash, Casella still gets a piece of the pie. It's not free,
Yeah.
but it gives an option that for that homeowner to be able to fill up 2 bags of trash. I don't know.
No, I agree. This is what I was kind of alluding to. It would be, to me, it seems like a good alternative. Because if you were to call one of the many trash haulers that we have, which is 6 or 7 or more maybe, and say, I don't want to pay the, whatever, $13 a week, I'm only generating $5 worth of trash. And if you could get one of these heavy duty bags that are marked whatever Charlton, and it's a different color than these other towns, and then whatever, take it there. So then you don't have to worry about, I'm bringing 2 bags here, let me check my wallet. It's just, you've got a Charlton bag, good, you're good to go. Prepaid, you're all set. And that to me would be a great idea for something like that, whether they're going to the landfill down here in Southbridge or the Oxford transfer station. Because some people, it's a big town, for some people to go from the far side down near Southbridge to go over to Oxford, it's a long drive.
The landfill in Southbridge hasn't accepted trash for,
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
For a long
But don't
time.
they have they do a transfer? I mean, nothing goes there at all?
no,
You mean where hazardous waste?
just the household
Just
hazardous
hazardous
waste.
waste.
Down in
Well, no,
DPW.
they can dump, Southbridge can dump a lot there on hazardous waste day though.
Right, well,
they
for
can-
hazardous waste.
Well,
I'm
that's
sorry.
their contract.
Yeah.
Ours is a little different. The landfill is in Southbridge, and it's a very small portion in Charlton. And Robin did aggressively pursue, otherwise we wouldn't be talking right now, it would have been over a while ago.
A long time
So,
ago, yeah.
Well,
but it's unfortunate because people are not able to drive that are elderly on a fixed income. I understand that. That's a big cost to someone on a fixed income
Sure.
who normally could have driven or maybe can't now. They need to be services somehow to make sure they get rid of their trash and not cause them a financial hardship. So we'll look into it, and I'll talk to you, and we'll talk to the chairman
Please
and
talk to
stuff.
Irene, because she's the,
It's
knows
just,
so much about.
it's very difficult, and some of it's cost prohibitive to the community.
I get it. But anyway, thank you, and we had a good year.
Thank
We
you
hope
for
to
all
have
you
another
do.
good year.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
thank you very
important.
much.
Good
Does the door need to stay open, Jim?
Yeah,
or
I'm
no?
sorry.
No, that's fine, as long as it's not locked. I just saw somebody walking by, I just want to make sure they know they can come in.
Have a good night, Ken.
All right, we'll move on to old business. Flint Road landfill. Gary, I presume that's why you're here for an update?
That's why I'm here.
Good.
All right, lots going on at Flint Road landfill, and I'll keep it relatively short and sweet, and then you guys ask questions. So on the capping end of that project, we just completed 26 test pits a week and a half ago, as required by DEP. DEP was out there to oversee them. Things went very well. There is, we were able, the goal of that was to define the boundary of the landfill relative to the property boundary. And in most cases, 99% of the refuse is within the property boundary. When the cap gets designed, and we're working on that, if any material is too close to the edge or on an abutting property, we'll get an access agreement. Fortunately, one abutter, pull that waste back and put it under the cap. Good news, most of it's in the landfill proper. The one bad or difficult section of that news is along Flint Road from where the gate is, in that general area, about 500 feet there is debris, waste within 2 feet of the road, down 2 to 5 feet down. So that probably won't get pulled back because it'll damage the road, but it'll probably end up with a cap back 10, 15 feet, kind of a flap to take care of that. Not going to affect anything, but it would have been nice if it wasn't there.
When you say 2 to 5 feet, the trash starts 2 to
Starts
5
about,
feet
yeah.
and then continues deeper?
Yeah, in most places we stopped at around 4 to 5 feet because that's what DEP wanted. If it's more than 5 feet, they don't really care. But yeah, there's in all places there's at least 2 feet of fill, pretty good structural gravel that they must have put in for the road. And all the debris I'm talking about in that area is burnt debris. So it's primarily ash. You have to generally get back generally 10 or 15 feet in, and then there's lots of bagged waste still present. The bags that were put there 40 years ago, 50 years
Still,
ago,
wow.
you open them, they're dug into them, and it looks just like the bag she was just speaking about that somebody pay as you throw threw out 40 or 50 years ago. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
So we've got a good handle on that. That's the engineering side of that project that's going well. We do have a pretty tight deadline. We're supposed to get the engineering plans into DEP by November. We're on track with that. We do have an issue, Jim, that we talked to Andrew about with the alignment of the road. It's a very picayune survey issue. Essentially, the town owns the road and the town owns the landfill, but there is not an alignment map for the road. So our surveyors don't know where the bounds are actually, whereas if you buy a house lot, it goes to the road and it has a couple pins and everything. Well, there's 2,000 feet of frontage with no bounds. So we're working with a surveyor to get our hands wrapped around that, because DEP will not accept a plan that doesn't have a solid survey.
So Gary, with that information, is there a method that's been used in the past to create bounds where you go center line of the road X amount of feet?
There is. It's a legal issue and a survey issue. I've met twice with Jim and Andrew about this. It's gone through. I think they talked to town attorney and then came back. I got the surveyor and Andrew were kind of communicating. It's not a big deal, and it won't. We're still moving forward with the design. It's just, if that doesn't get resolved by November, which probably not going to now, the design will go in, but DEP won't give us a final approval on that. it's not gonna change anything more than, it's just saying that the line is here and the town's road ends here and the town's landfill ends here and they match. There's no match.
But with the debris being so close to the road, you would want the debris to be in the dump side of the land.
Yeah.
And so, if generally speaking, they say Flint Road is 20 feet wide, center line, or 15 feet, whatever the number is, and then you get to the dump and all of a sudden it's, 9 feet because now we're in the debris.
It'll probably, whatever the standard alignment is, it'll stay. And then essentially, like I said, if there's waste on a butter's property, we get an access agreement, pull it back. You wouldn't get an access agreement, you just have a liner under the road. So if in 50 years, that road needs to get widened or near, whatever, 5 more feet, they could just do that work and it wouldn't affect anything. There's not gonna be pipes or gas vents or monitoring wells or anything in that area.
Right.
So that's on the engineering side, that's the, I don't wanna say the only picayune issue, but that's one we're dealing with. So we did have, we got access from conservation, everything went really smooth with that's good. To the more difficult discussion is the one for, was one for Dax, and we're going to talk about that briefly, but PFAS. In simple global terms, and we can get into it as deep as you guys want, we've now sampled 30 homes. There's 13 more to do. We have attempted to put the brakes on going any further. Reason being is the PFAS detections, so we've sampled 30, 11 have PFAS 6 detections. Those PFAS 6 detections at the farthest reaches now are very low and may, I use the word very strong, may not be related to the landfill. You can't prove that, but there's a suggestion that they could be background, some other source. We don't have another source. I don't believe there's another smoking gun source out there, but I personally have done a lot of this sampling all over the state, and we're finding concentrations in the 2-3 parts per trillion range with not even, no idea of a source. And we have a lot of monitoring with our homes now in the 2, 3, 4 range that are 1,300 feet from the landfill, 1,500 feet from the landfill. So if you recall, detection in the landfill, 500-foot radius, sample those. If you get a detection of one of those, put a circle on that, 500 feet. We're in our 3rd iterations of circles, and we're starting to find some issues out farther. No higher, generally lower. I have had a discussion with DEP, and I've planted the seed that we want to discuss with DEP the possibility that these far-reaching PFAS detections might not be related to the landfill. So in light of that, we're essentially we're trying to get to these last 13 homes. We've done everything from send letters, made phone calls, hand-delivered letters to get access to these homes. Most people have been really receptive. The hand delivering of the letter seems to work very well. Generally, and my cell phone's on there, our office number's on there, my email's on there. Generally, when we hand deliver within 2 or 3 days, my phone kind of blows up and I get a lot of calls. The last 13 are a little bit of a challenge. I'm not going to get them all. We've made the approach of twice dropping a hand dropping a letter, and then mailing the letters. If we don't get that, then we're going to go to DEP protocol, which is 2 sets of letters, certified mail, and if they don't respond, then we can ask DEP to help us, and if they don't help us, that's fine. So we have to we're trying the easy way first, send a letter, drop a letter at their door, and knocking at the doors. But if they don't respond, we do have a protocol we have to follow to try to get access. And people don't have to allow us access.
So, you've already hand-delivered 2 times to those 13 residents?
Most of those 13. We've done 4 different sets of hand deliveries. So in other words, you get a trigger of 500 feet and it triggers 7 or 8 new homes.
Yeah.
we send the letters and we drop them. And what I do is when I have a sample event scheduled, I just drive out, I sample that house, and I got the 4 letters with me, I drop them off at the door. So we're not making special trips, we're trying to be efficient,
Yeah.
but yes, we've dropped 3 or 4 different times.
So John, this is probably a conversation for you and I, but, I mean, if he's already hand-delivered twice, I say certified mail it. I mean, it's not like you're gonna send the sheriff to certify the mail, it's not that, but certified mail does speak, nobody likes it. I think it's time to say, go ahead, you're not offending us as a board by doing that.
Yep, yeah.
That's fine, that's what we should do. And I'll be very frank with the board, I think you know that we're very frank and honest with you guys. We're kind of running as fast as we can to keep everything going forward. So we're not at a lag point where it says, oh, we gotta reach out to those people. We're actually now starting the second quarter of sampling of the ones we did the first quarter back in June. We did a couple in May, in June and July, so, some in May. So I actually have some samples this week that are second events. But yes, these ones that we haven't been able to reach, only one of them is back from that first batch. All the other ones are a month ago or 3 weeks ago. So yeah, what we'll do is probably the end of this week, whatever I don't have access to, we'll just send a certified letter and start that protocol. Because our job as your LSP is to make sure we've done everything in accordance with the reg. Your job is to protect human health and the environment here. But if the people don't respond and we've made all the steps, we've met our objective.
I mean, I do believe this is time sensitive to a certain degree.
Oh, clearly it's.
It clearly is. So, not trying to offend anybody by sending certified mail. It's only certified mail, once you've had 10, you've had 100, like, it's not the end of the world. I think it's time, if you think it's time and John thinks it's time
I agree, yeah.
to elevate it to that.
Yeah.
We'll send them out this week.
Yeah.
So the ones that I haven't responded, we'll send certified this week.
So the protocol's 2 events, a certified mail,
I have to check on DEP. I know it's a minimum of 1.
okay?
It might be 2. And then what happens is we just give, sidetrack, Jim certified some reports this week that went in. DEP gets reports every 60 days on what's going on here. So in that report, we've told them which houses we've sampled and when we sampled them. We don't get into the gory details that we told Mr. Smith. We dropped a letter off on this day. We said we're in the process of notifying.
Yeah.
When we send the certified letters in the next 60-day report, that'll say we sent certified letters to these homeowners.
Okay.
And then we'll have to ask for DEP support.
Mhm.
And again, once we ask, and if the residents choose not to sample, that's fine. I have not had a resident yet that's reached out and said, I don't want you to sample. I had actually the opposite. We made an error in that we looked at a house on a map in a driveway and sent a letter to them, and I scheduled the sampling, and I went out there, and the driveway is 1,400 feet long, and their well is at the house. So it's clearly not within 500 feet of the last one. So I talked to the owner, and I said, I apologize, you're not on the list. I can't sample it. We're actually not allowed to sample it because it doesn't meet the trigger criteria. I have also had some residents on Dresser Hill, because they're talking to neighbors, reach out, they tell me their street address, and I look them up and I said, no, you're not within the 500-foot radius. We're not sampling you at this point. If it goes further, we'll reach out.
I thought DEP made us go not to the well, but to the property bounds.
So let's be very, very clear. DEP made the board sample the properties on Burlingame Road, properties that were within 500 feet of the initial detection in the well, the properties. Once we tested those properties, now we're back to 500 foot from well to well.
Okay.
So DEP's concern was, and it was, I will argue, a semi-legitimate concern.
Mhm.
The wells in the landfill are have moderate concentrations of PFAS. These home concentrations are extremely low. We have not detected anything above 20, which is the drinking water standard. And of those 11 detections I just told you about, 9 of them are, or 8 of them are below 6. So they're like 2, 3, 5. There's only a couple, there's a couple 13s and 11 and a 7. So most of them are very low. So the point is, we're now staying at that 500-foot radius once you get a detection, and that's it.
Gary, can I bring something up? I think
Please.
in one of the past meetings, it may have been the last one or the one before that, you know, you're talking 20 parts per trillion. Wasn't there some discussion about the US EPA coming back and possibly lowering that to as low as 4 parts per trillion? Is that it? Am I right with that or not?
You are correct that the federal government is proposing a 4 part per trillion number.
Okay.
It's in the process of being promulgated. The state says they're going to accept it.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Well, we got to get in the weeds a little bit here,
Yeah,
and that's what I didn't want to do, but I think it's important. When we initially started this, we had some concern. There were some residents that were concerned that they had PFAS in their well. It was a J hit and blah, blah. The test for PFAS is these 17 or 22 parameters right here. The only ones that DEP regulates are the 6 of them, PFAS 6. You add those 6 together, and if those 6 equal 20, that exceeds the standard. These new proposals are going to be specific, compound specific. They're not PFAS 6. So they're proposing a standard for PFAS, for PFOA, and for a few others. So I don't want to speak to how Massachusetts is going to do that. It's not as simple as PFAS 6 is now 20, PFAS 6 is going to be
Okay,
4.
all right.
I think so you could have a house that has a PFAS 620, and if they come back and they only regulate 2 or 3 of those, and they put them at 4,
you're still under.
you could be
potentially.
under.
Yeah,
I'm not comfortable
No,
stating
I
what
know.
the
I
future's going to
agree.
bring. What I can tell you is there is going to be a change.
yeah.
And as soon as that change is promulgated, I'll be sitting here and we'll be talking about it.
Okay.
Because we're going to get a letter from DEP.
Now, at the end of the day, and the change happens, it really doesn't affect us because we're taking on action on every PFAS hit, aren't we?
This board, by the direction of DEP, so DEP wrote you, the board, 2 notices of responsibility, 1 for each landfill. And it explicitly states residential properties with PFAS 6 detections, you must provide bottled water if there is a detection from the detection limit to 20 parts per trillion, 19.9. You will provide bottled water. Above 20, you will provide a treatment system for PFAS 6,
Okay.
not any detections. This board has made 1 change for a resident that has 3 PFAS 6 J detections. A J detection is not a confirmed detection, but all 3 of those are of the 6 that combined. And that resident, the board made a decision to provide water to.
In adding with that, we had testimony from the resident and the neighbor that had a common well issue with dye from one resident coming out of the other well, as well as a fracking that blew the cap off the other well. So we had strong suspicion
There's
that the
connection.
aquifer was a connection. So,
And the other well had PFAS 6 detections above 2.
so we did take that one on a case-by-case basis, and said this is the right thing to do. Just clarifying that.
And fortunately, I think, Jim, we might have had one other one. I'm not even sure, I have to double check, to be honest with you guys. But the data's been pretty consistent. What CMG is currently doing is, I've got my staff taking all this data and analyzing it, creating some graphs to try to make some argument that a spurious detection of PFOA or PFAS in a drinking water well may or may not have the same fingerprint as what we're finding in the landfill. And I've already talked to DEP about us making a technical argument to them. and other consultants have made that technical argument to DEP, and DEP has accepted it. If we don't make that technical argument or have this discussion, you're gonna see, I'm gonna have to hire 6 more people to test, because we're gonna be testing the entire town. I am not comfortable that, with the data I'm seeing currently, that I can go 500 feet and not get a detection. That is related to, it's so prevalent in the environment, and this level is so low, that each time we're getting a detection, so we're essentially talking with DEP, working with DEP to not go 500 feet every time we get a detection.
I'm being naughty in asking this, but how far does it go? Does the town line stop it, or technically, I mean, it doesn't, right? You would go until you had another source or another landfill, and you guys would meet in the middle.
We have to make, Ben Gould, my business partner you met, the regulation has what's called RAPS, Response Action Performance Standards. And that allows ExxonMobil and La Mountain Sunoco, there's clearly both sources of MTBE. They were able to separate those apart by technical arguments. You have this tame and you don't have this, and you have TBA and you don't have this. What we're doing is we're looking at we have to make a technical argument. We do not need to find another source, we being the board and the town.
Good.
We don't have to find another source. But we can't just say we're stopping because we're 1,800 feet.
Right.
Or we're stopping because we want to. We're working on the technical argument. I don't have it formulated completely yet because there's so much data. But we've broached the subject with DEP, we've broached the subject with Jim and with Andrew. We are working in that direction. And that's kind of where we're trying to go, is we have to have a sound technical argument to make the argument. If we look at all this data and if the fingerprint in the landfill and the fingerprint 500 feet and 1,800 feet is all identical, we're going another 500 feet.
And to add to that, do you know how much more work this office has to do? We're like a water company here now. We're getting so many calls of everyone just calling, well, I didn't get enough water, can you deliver 5 more? I have company. We're fielding so many calls that the girls are on the phone all day with Ready Fresh because of holiday, they missed a customer or whatever. So we're actually working with the DPW to bring in cases, pallets of water, because we can't keep up, and I can't keep going buying water for town residents on my own dime.
Correct.
And it's getting to the point where the girls can't even keep up. Ready Fresh is on the phone 4 hours today, Andrea. And Andrea's on vacation. She's had unfortunate death in the family. So now, if Kim and I are out, we've got 25 phone calls from people. We've become like Gary said, you got to hire 6 more people. We're going to need 3 more people here just to handle the water issues that we're dealing with. It's getting out of control.
And I'd like to commend this office. Thank God they're doing it, because we had to do it. We've done it in the past for some of our fuel oil, gasoline ones. It is an absolute nightmare dealing with the water, and then dealing, no disrespect to the residents, but the residents have a simple, reasonable request. I got 20 people coming over, I need more water. Well, when you're providing it to a lot of people, you get a lot of phone calls. It's really difficult to do. So they're doing a great job. It's taken a lot of effort off my end, and saving the town money, because we're not having to deal with that. But I hear Jim, it's a very heavy lift. It doesn't sound that difficult, but it's a lot of work.
And I just, again, the program's way over, but I still say kudos to Casella for doing that voluntary water program at their expense. They didn't have to do it, and they did pick up the ball on that. So, yeah, it was a lot of work. We didn't even realize what Tracy was doing for Casella to make that all happen, and they did it. And then after they didn't have to do it and they said they weren't, they still did it some more and finished out the program. So,
And that's kind of where Jim is going with, not voluntary, but trying to get some water down at the DPW. So, because it is inevitable. I text Jim, so the process is when the data comes in, I text Jim. We have a standard protocol. Here's the information, this is what it means, this is what we need to do. When Jim says, you have my authority to do that, I call the owner. You guys are usually there. I have to tell you this, I have to tell him to not deliver water yet. Give me an hour to get in touch with the homeowner and let them know you're coming, because I don't want the van sitting there in their front yard without a phone call from me explaining. So they're very responsive. But now, we're gonna be dealing with this. We're gonna be dealing with this for an extended period of time, more than 1 year. So we had all talked and said, let's get some water available so that when these, I don't want to use the word fire drills, because the regulation says you must provide water immediately. This town is doing it faster than any other town I've ever seen. Immediately, 72 hours, whatever, something's reasonable. I make a text, within an hour, there's water at their house. So they're doing a fantastic job.
And Ready Fresh, there's no way that you're gonna call them, they're gonna pick up the phone and say, yeah, we've got a truck in the area with 50 cases of bottled water, they'll be there within an hour.
I feel bad because both of them will get on the phone to try and get answers first, but we have other things to deal with, and it gets frustrating because now their computer system screwed up and they're gonna double order of water, and the people calling us, can you come pick up all these jugs they double delivered? No, we have nowhere to store them. But now the DPW, the new director, Mr. Peel, is going to meet with me tomorrow to give me a key to have a room available to have as much water as we can delivered there to alleviate some of the problems that we've been having to, it costs a lot more when you go through to a grocery store or down here for a case, and we're spending taxpayer money, so we want to make sure, and that's why we need to get it in a bulk, so I can just go in, open the door, and then deliver the water, which is close. The DPW is in the area where we are testing, but it was to the point where, I was at Big Y every weekend, every Friday at least.
I witnessed
I shouldn't laugh, but I can imagine.
It's always 3 o'clock on Friday when I get the data. I text Jim and I'm like, Jim, it's 3
No, this
o'clock
sounds
on
like the
Friday.
way to go. Just, let's get pallet loads or whatever we need, and like you say, a
Well,
central
that's
location.
just for initial response, but then we have to get Ready Fresh set up. So we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of money just to keep testing and water, which is, I don't see ending at any point in time. Once you start, it's going to only continue. That's why Gary's got to, where do we stop?
And I agree, that technical argument is our only hope, because the way I see it, right, and I don't think the DEP is gonna recognize a town bound, I don't think they care. So, how do you do it? Well, you say, okay, well, we think it's this landfill over here, we get them to get some tests, they're gonna probably not have the lucky horseshoe like we didn't, and then what? So each landfill has to meet in the middle, wherever that may be? I mean, how do you?
Allow me to make a minor correction there. Sources of PFAS are not only landfills. There are so many sources out there. Residential septic systems, because people put things in their drain. Homes that may have used biosolids for the topsoil. So we got a home that was built 10 years ago, had no topsoil. They took some biosolid, mixed it in the topsoil, made it. I've tested homes that have PFAS in the hundreds range, and we believe that source is biosolids on that property, out in the woods in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Concentrations 100 times higher than we're seeing at your site. And we've got a landfill, which is clearly a source, and the board has accepted that that's the source, and you're going to put a cap on it, you're dealing with it. So my point is, we have to be thinking that these sources could be anything. So that's why when you get in these very low concentrations, to make the connection of that very low concentration, 600 feet down, tied to this landfill is pretty tough. But I can only make the argument based on the chemistry. I need to make a
Right,
chemistry
sure.
argument. And that's what we're going to try to do. So, transitioning into that, I thought it was important to tell this board where you're going. And this is just a very simple, there's a lot of numbers here, but what I did is I prepared some costs for you guys for 3 scenarios, and I'll just run through it with you. The first scenario is bold and highlighted. For homes with PFAS-6 detections, with homes with no PFAS-6 detections. So just to test a home, DEP says we have to test them for 4 quarters. It's $355 for the lab fee. It's about $180 for the labor. It's about $175 for the reporting and scheduling and everything. $710 per home per event. So that comes up to $2,840 annual testing for a home that does not have any detections. If you look down, the last line under that little group is we currently have 13 homes that meet this criteria. So 13 homes at $2,800 is $37,000 for a year. That is homes with no detections. And that assumes that they stay no detections for 4 quarters. Just this, and these numbers and my carryouts of how many homes we have, these are just very generic ballpark estimates, but I need to give you guys an understanding of where you're going. The next scenario, the next highlighted one, is homes with PFAS 6 detections above method detection limits but below 20. So we have to provide bottled water. Same cost to sample, everything's the same, $710. An average monthly fee for provision of water is about $75 a month you guys are paying Ready Fresh to deliver water to the house. Comes up to about $900 a year. So you're at $3,740 a year for a house that you're providing bottled water to do the bottled water provision and the testing. We currently have 15 homes in that range. That's $56,000. Okay? If you flip the page over, there's good news and bad news. The good news is we don't have any in this category. The bad news is it's a very expensive category. These are homes with PFAS 6 detections above 20 parts per trillion. DEP is going to mandate a treatment, not is going to, has already mandated that you install treatment. We don't have any of these. Treatment systems range from $7,000 to $9,000. It's going to depend a little bit on location and ability to install and all that. So I just put 8,000 out there. We just installed a few, and that's right about where they came up. The average estimated cost for annual maintenance is about $2,000. You're probably going to have to change carbon once every year or every other year. The disposal is astronomical. There's nowhere to get rid of the carbon. So this is the part that gets even more painful, is testing. If we put a treatment system in, DEP currently mandates we test the raw water, which is the untreated water. Then we test, there's 2 carbon filters. We test in between the 2 carbons to see if the first filter's spent. And then we test after that, so we test what's they're drinking in their kitchen sink. So there's 3 samples. So your cost goes to $960. It's almost $1,000 just for the lab work. It's a little bit more money to do the testing because it takes more time and the data reporting. It's $1,480 a quarter just to test. So it's $5,900 annual testing in a home that has a treatment system. So for year 1, if you've got to buy the system and put it in at $8,000, and you're going to spend $5,900 a year in monitoring, you're at about $14,000 a year. Year 2, the monitoring, you just have the monitoring and the maintenance costs, so you should be about $8,000 a year. You don't have any in that range, but you see what happens if you added 10 or 20 homes in that range. That gets very expensive very quick.
Yeah, at some point, you gotta say, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna take it by eminent domain, bulldoze the house, pay them what the house is worth, and say, there we go.
Bottled water, provision of, we are obligated to look at all viable means of providing potable water.
Right.
The most viable mean is a water line.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
needs to be discussed. This is not here to scare you. This is a fact. When I told you guys, or when DEP mandated this board test, we had these preliminary discussions, and I said it's going to be expensive. Now that we've really got some data in hand, I can tell you that if things stay status quo, you're at $100,000 minimum. That doesn't even include the 13 homes that haven't given me access yet. Just the ones we've already tested. The next year, you got $100,000 just in testing and water provision.
And that's assuming we stop right where we are now.
Right, you
which
still
is-
have 13, and we can't stop.
Right.
Those, we have to. So again, not to scare you, I felt as though that I needed to give you guys real numbers. These are actual lab costs. I am gonna look, we are using a very, very good lab. I am gonna look at the possibility of using an out-of-state lab that I've had really good luck with. The price is a little cheaper. So now that we're doing enough samples, I think I owe it to the town to look at that. If we can save $10,000 a year or $20 a year in lab, we're gonna try to do that. So I'm gonna reach out to that lab and try to get a price quote. But this is, we're into some serious expenses here. We will owe DEP a phase 1 report on this, and then in 3 years, we have to give them a phase 2 and a 3, which starts looking at alternatives. So you really have 4 years before you need to really look at alternatives, but Jim and I have had a preliminary discussion with Andrew, not about these numbers, but about what is the solution, and the water line is the solution.
At this point, what's the problem? Flint Road, Town Farm Road,
Flint Road, Town Farm Road,
Burlingame Road,
Burlingame Road, and Dresser Hill.
and Dresser Hill.
So the simple scenario is you run from,
Old Town Road.
yeah,
Town.
so you go from the building that you guys own at
Dresser, for Dresser.
Ford Dresser Hill, you come down, you go down Flint, you go up Old Town, you come back, make that loop, that takes
Yeah.
care of that. That's manageable, that's not astronomical. But now, once you start going the other way and try to get to Burlingame, that's a
problem.
whole different ballgame.
Yeah, I know.
But right now, you only have 2 on Burlingame.
True, yeah. But remember, we're still.
You're still testing.
FinCom has allowed us to go out, we have to still borrow the $2 million to start the closure of 54 Flint Road. And appropriate $470,000 just to handle the testing and the water, which is only increasing.
I'm installing 6-inch water line right now, and it is very expensive. I mean, it is just, the trucks come, they unload the pipe, it's 40 grand. You didn't get that much for the money, and it's unbelievable. The fittings, I mean, there's so much to it, never mind the
Never mind the
labor.
engineering and the labor.
Then, when you throw the town element, it's all prevailing wage, you get, crazy bonds, and the asphalt paving after it's all done and said. I mean, it's no joke. It's
Well, and that's, that aspect is, to stay in our lane. McClure Engineering did a lot of the work for the town for the landfill. So Chris would be the person to talk to, and I can reach out to him at some point with a direction from the board if they want. The discussion needs to be had and start to be discussed at some point.
Andrew, I believe in our last discussion, will be reaching out to Chris McCord. He's trying to do all avenues to the best and most financially acceptable ways to provide municipal water, but easier said than done.
way easier said than done.
And it's
So-
years out.
And it's years out. But the idea is, just say, and I'm just going to use easy math because I'm not even close on the numbers, but just say it cost $1 million in 2023 to do the water line, and I know I'm way, way low, but just for easy math, if the can gets kicked till 2027, 1 million just by inflation is going to be 1.5 or 2 million. I mean, it's not going to get any cheaper as time goes on. That's just the way this world is. So it's, we can kick the can all we want until we hit the wall.
The escalation is 4 to 8%, they're telling us. I'm
Yeah.
doing a school project in my town, 4 to 8% a year.
Yeah. So
8%'s a lot.
8%'s a lot.
You're talking almost probably $1 million in engineering cost alone just to design this system.
Oh yeah, I know.
And then if you need a pump station, that's 1.5 to 2 right there.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable. And then start the asphalt, the paving.
Yeah.
The pipe is unbelievable. Ledge work, if there's rock, and I'm sure
Is we're starting round 2 of testing. Hopefully we don't have any new detections, but with 30, I'm sure I'm gonna have 1 or 2 that wasn't above, that will be above, and I'll be reaching out to Jim. The interesting thing that's gonna happen, just so that the board understands, so that we're all presenting the same message. So let's say one of these houses had 2.7, and I sample it in the next 3 weeks in the second quarter, and it comes up non-detect for PFAS. We're not out, we're still obligated to provide them water. We're still obligated to test 4 quarters after that, before I can even go to DEP and try to say we're not testing you anymore. So All the people that we've reached out to, that we've provided water to, I told them that we'll be here for at least a year. So just because they were at 3 and then it went to non-detect and non-detect and non-detect for the next 3 quarters, we're still not done.
Right.
I see if, this is a big if, I don't know what the EPA is going to come back with, but just based on what I'm seeing, what you're telling us, I can only imagine what the other 349 towns and cities are going to experience when they start doing the testing. And I think what's going to happen is, I don't know whether it's going to come out of the coffers of Massachusetts state funding for some of this, but towns are just going to literally run out of money.
Yep.
That's what I see, because Charlton's got a decent amount of money, but there are some towns around here, smaller towns, where you got 2,000 residents, and if they had an expense like this, they'd say, can't do it, sue us, whatever. We're not gonna, we can't afford it. Give us the money and we'll see if we can't do something, but we don't have the money.
And the kind of the reason I broached the subject with DEP, I said, the town has stepped forward to capital landfill, do all these things. They're being proactive, but we've got to control the extent of this. If it's the towns, and I can't speak for the town, I said, if the data suggests that it's the town has always stepped up and taken care of things. But if the data doesn't suggest that, we need to stop looking.
Right, I agree.
And we don't want to be the pioneers fronting the battle and funding this whole thing to find out in 10 years, 15 years from now, the feds take it over and say, listen, we're going to put in, you know, and then what? It's like, so we paid for it because we were doing the right thing and we should have done nothing, and now it's getting handed to us? Like, we don't want to be those guys either.
And that's why we're making a diligent effort to stop expanding the testing. I don't know that I'm going to win the argument, but we've broached the subject and we're talking about it.
Can I ask a question just to clarify it? And we're probably going into the weeds here, as you would say, guys. So, the PFAS, right? That's 6 elements of PFAS that we're looking for?
6 compounds
6 compounds.
that we add together.
Now, did I hear something that we found PFAS, but it was not one of the 6?
Oh yeah, so yeah, there is a home, there's a couple homes that have PFAS detections that are not PFAS 6. We're not providing bottled water. You're not obligated to do anything because DEP says we don't have it. We don't know what those are not the high risk PFAS components at this point.
So, which is great financially. As a board, have we said to those homeowners, you have PFAS, not the one we're looking for, you ought to drink bottled water, but you're on your own for it? Has that message been communicated?
We've provided the data to them. We haven't had, as your consultant, we're doing what we're obligated to do, provide the information to them. And offer our services if they have questions. No one has come back to us with a question.
John, as a board, do we want to do anything? And when I say anything, I'm saying write a letter. You came up with PFAS, that is not the PFAS that we're looking for. However, if I was a homeowner, I'd want to know about it. Here's your letter.
I guess the question is, how many houses are we talking here?
Well, you've already, as a board, you did send a letter.
You did.
You
already.
did put something on our website about PFAS. I'm a little concerned about
The letter, though, what was the letter about?
the letter, initial letter went out that said, we are concerned,
Yeah.
we as a board have been obligated to test for PFAS in landfill. We have not, it said clearly, we have not detected in any homes yet. you're proximal to landfill, you might want to consider using bottled water.
Okay.
I think is what it said.
And I love that language.
And believe me, this house, most of these houses that we go to, Matt, are already purchasing, they don't drink their well water.
Right.
Most-
We're just
yes.
switching the accounts over into the town of Charlton. They've already had an account with Ready Fresh and have never drank their well water
Right.
because they never trusted it,
Right.
because of what goes on
Yeah.
and understanding where they are.
I like the letter, even though it may be outdated because we sent the letter before we were doing the
We did, we're
testing.
proactive.
But the information is the same, saying we suggest bottled water. And that's all I'm really trying to get out there is that
And we
letter.
recommend everyone as a board, we've told them, have your well checked.
Well, that's
Because you may not even be within the realm of us testing, but you still may, doesn't mean you don't have any contaminants in your well.
Right.
And we recommend that before you subject your family to drinking, and just assume that when you turn the tap on, that your water is fine. We even checked today to get the data that Poland Springs doesn't have PFAS in it, because some of the, and they have to treat one of their springs because it did have PFAS in it. So we can't provide water not knowing that it doesn't have PFAS.
Right.
It would be foolish. So we did check it, and their website is pretty clear that their water does not contain any of it. So, of course, it's delivered in plastic bottles, but
Yeah.
who knows?
PDA, we're not going to talk about those. right?
No,
No.
no, that's another route we don't want to talk about.
So that's essentially what I had for you guys. I could talk for hours if you want to. I presume you don't want to hear me for hours. I'll answer any questions. The saga continues. We've got a lot of steps here to take.
I assume you'll be at the next meeting if you're available in 3 or 4 weeks.
Tuesday, I mean, I know your meetings are on Tuesdays. You guys are first priority for me. I'm on a board in my own town, and we're building a school, so those meetings are Tuesdays, but these come over those, so I'm always available.
All right.
So as long as I know when they are, I'm good. And even on a whim, I can do.
Available by phone also.
No, I'm usually here.
I think it was status quo that the board would wait till we get some major anyway.
Yeah, I communicate with Jim. I try not to communicate with him daily, but it seems like it is.
Since there,
He knows what's going on, so I don't. Whatever you guys have questions, I'm always willing to answer.
I'm all set with Gary for now.
Yeah, it was a good meeting though. It was a good discussion on this, taking it, down the road or where we're going with this, because it's gonna have to open some eyes, because this is gonna be very, very expensive, and, we gotta open some eyes.
I do. If I can take one more minute.
Yeah, sure.
So we're running parallel trails here. We started with 1,4-dioxin a while ago. We only have 3 homes that have ever had any detections of 1,4-dioxin. Yet we're still sampling, because I'm scheduling the 1,4-dioxin concurrent with the PFAS. I brought my sheet here. I'm still sampling like 10 homes just because of 3 detections for 1,4-dioxin. And we have 11 or 13 homes with detections for PFAS. So even if it stops right here, just these 30 or 40 are going to be expensive and a lot of work. We are, like I said, we're combing now that we've got both of them. I pushed the 1,4-dioxin a little longer than I was supposed to, and so I'm trying to do the 2 together so we can save money.
Mhm.
So you're only paying for 1 trip to the house, and I'm only bothering the homeowner once.
That's good.
But the residents have been great. Everybody's receptive. They're very happy with what the board's doing. With Jim, I've heard no complaints.
I think your team really has to be doing some homework with the technical stuff.
We are in deep. Yeah, we just,
Put Ben on it, he's deep.
he's deep. Well, he's on it. Yeah, we're trying to make that argument. We had a pretty detailed internal meeting last week about this, and we've got the wheel moving.
In this town or a different town?
No, in our office.
No, but,
For
in your
this.
office.
We're doing something similar in a different town. And we're kind of taking some of that technical, we got a lot of history we pulled out and a lot of background data that we've pulled out. Yours is pretty easy. Yours is just what does it really show, because we have so much data. But we internally sat down and said, we're gonna pull all this together and make this argument. So we're working on it. Just don't have the argument pulled together yet in a way that we can present it, but we're there.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you,
You're
Gary.
welcome.
Gary, I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
My phone, email comes in, I'll talk to you soon.
So if you decide to leave now, and should we, before we let him go, should we try to come up with a next meeting?
Sure. I can
If
stay
that's
too. I
it.
mean, what do you guys have a plan to do?
It's gonna be, well, if you wanna hear Jim's department head reports, or
He doesn't need to hear that.
It's up to you
we
guys.
can let you get out of here, so you don't spend another 15 or 20 minutes here, whatever it's gonna be.
So John, 3 weeks is the 26th September, 4 weeks is the 3rd.
Either one is fine with me, I should be available, shouldn't be an issue.
Why don't we shoot October 3rd?
October 3rd, Gary,
You're in.
October 3rd at 6. Thank you very much. And Gary, if you want to leave, you are welcome to, and that way you can go home and
That's the dinner.
get some dinner.
Because Matt can't eat. I can at least eat.
That's on a shake on
I was gonna
the
say, you guys thought me to smoothie. All right, so you guys are all set? Thank
I
you.
ate.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming, Gary. Very informative. We appreciate you as always.
All right, be well, you guys. You need another piece of paper, please.
Keep that for another piece of paper. All right, we'll move on. Department head reports. Jim.
All right, I'll keep it quick. Like I said, we've been dealing with the water delivery situation, which is a monumental task. Luckily, we have good staff in here, but with one person out on vacation and having to go out, it's other things still happening. We're very busy with Title V. Tom's been doing a great job also, but they continue to build in Charlton and move forward. So we're working on that. Doing a lot of housing. All the food inspections are being done. The schools are opening, so we have to do school inspections are coming up. Certainly, we've been on top of things, and like I said, nice enough for the new DPW director, who Jerry Foska is retired now. Mr. Peel has allowed me to have a key and access to the building in the event that we can store at least 3 skids of water, because I'm running to Big Y or to a grocery store every Friday, and I've had to send the girls out a lot because people run out, and what are you going to tell them? You know, we just get the water because that's what we're expected to do. And ReadyFresh is it's a computer system, and to get on, it's 3-4 hours of waiting online just to get through. We don't have a direct line. They don't
That's
care.
ridiculous.
I mean, the guy that's here said there's 2 trucks that have to come into town here just to.
Is Ready Fresh the answer then? Should we be looking somewhere else?
ReadyFresh is the only one that does it, and people only want Poland Springs. They don't want some generic water. We're certainly not going to send them Fiji water, but
So we're getting Poland Springs through Ready Fresh?
yeah, they own, Poland Spring actually owns, they're synonymous with Saratoga. They own this company too, which is sparkling water. So the guy that delivers is a great guy. He's very polite, courteous, carries all this stuff, which is difficult. And some of these driveways in Charlton, he can't drive up them. He's got to actually wheel them up. And some of them on Flint Road, I mean, I've been up them. It's very difficult. But it's a lot of work. People don't realize, and like Gary said, just handling the houses as we get more. We're doing, we've got houses that we've issued condemnation order on, and we've got, Thursday we'll be doing, Andrew's developed a task force, housing task force, that property that's distressed that we've had complaints about. We've had issue that I could talk to you privately about, Mr. Chairman, after I spoke to John about someone that has sent something out that shouldn't have been sent out to, that it would look like it came from me and it didn't. So we'll talk about that. But certainly COVID is back on there, as some of the major cities have back to masking, and some of the hospitals are back to masking. Cases up, we still have nurses checking on me even. So COVID's not over. We've had cases in town still, and but I don't see us going back to the masking anytime soon unless they mandatory make us to. But certainly, we do still have test kits, but people aren't testing anymore. If you're sick, stay home, and that's the policy here. But certainly, COVID, still monitoring all those cases that we have. There's also the right to house now that the governor's declared. So all the people within our Charlton Coalition of Public Health are getting migrants that are living there. So I have to assist them now with the migrants, and we're getting them clothing and assistance there. They are in Sturbridge, they're in Sutton, and they're in Auburn. So everyone that has hotels, they're getting migrants. We're expected to assist them through FEP in any means, personal hygiene kits, clothing, whatever. So that is a task that the state has decided to take on that may be a monumental task for the towns because the children go to school, it's about 100,000 a child also. So and they need a lot of things. We have to take them, we've offered the van, we've taken people to the hospital for vaccinations to make sure that, so that is another thing that's brewing within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it's going to happen to a lot of communities. Charlton, we don't have a hotel which they could house, so, but doesn't mean that a private, I know some people are concerned, but I don't foresee any of them coming into Charlton. There's really nowhere to house them. So. But that's, like I said, Andrea's had a unfortunate event in her family, so she'll be off the rest of the week on bereavement, and Kim and I have been away busting butt. Kim is very good in the office too. She does a great job, and Emily's only here for Thursday. She's in the other town, so we're moving forward, and but there's a lot of things to do. So trying to keep them all in line. A lot of budgets, a lot of classes that we have to take to keep up with compliance now. Things have changed. Inspections are done on computers now and printed out that way. So it makes it consistent from town to town that we're all trying to enforce it the same way.
Excuse me.
That's about all I have. Unless you have any questions.
No. Any other business unknown at the time of the posting from you, Matt, or Jim?
No.
No. All right. We've got the next Board of Health meeting all set up.
And that's October 3rd?
October 3rd at 6 o'clock. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
All right. Meeting adjourned at 7, we'll call it 7:18.
John, we gotta still gonna vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor of
Aye.
adjourning? Aye. All right. Meeting's over.